Hello, and welcome to the Argyle CFO Summit. My name is Brittany Sullivan with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. I have some important information to share with you, and then we will turn the floor over to our esteemed opening keynote speaker. First, we would like to take a moment to thank today's sponsors, Avalara, SAP, and Ramp. Our sponsors are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. So at any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, which includes complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. We also welcome you to stay socially connected during today's event. For those of you who are active on social media, please use the hashtag Argyle Digital and follow us at Argyle Exec Forum. Also, be sure to subscribe to Argyle on YouTube for exclusive access to all of our past events. Finally, and most importantly, we would love to hear from you. So during each session, we encourage you to submit your questions and comments in the Q&A box on your screen. Following each presentation, we have set aside time for our speakers to weigh in on your questions. Thank you again for joining us. Now let's get started. Without further ado, I would love to introduce Caitlin Marcelino, Finance Executive and Educator. We are excited to have Caitlin with us for her opening keynote titled Intelligent Finance, the Future of Digital-First Organizations. Welcome, Caitlin, and over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And I'm really excited to talk to you about how we can modernize systems to empower our teams and transform our culture as executives, as finance leaders, and teachers. So a bit about what's ahead. You're going to get the state of the business from what I'm able to see from the finance organization side, from my experience working in the industry. I'm going to provide some frameworks, and then I'm going to get into how we put it all together utilizing culture. So a bit more about myself and who you're actually listening to. So I have over 16 years of FP&A experience, really focused on strategic alignment with CEOs, marketing experts, and cross-functional teams. I currently operate as a fractional CFO with Arena, and I'm a 3-time entrepreneur, as well as fueling a passion of teaching. And I believe really strongly in bringing up the next wave of finance executives. So I partner with NYU on the adjunct side. All right. So as we think about setting the stage for our discussion today, I think it's really important to talk about this transformation mandate. And I want to first ground us in the modern finance current state. So present day, most finance organizations are not short on the technology. We've invested heavily in ERPs, we have automation, analytics, and AI. Yet the impact continues to be uneven because we still miss our forecasts, insights arrive way too late, and teams feel very stretched and oftentimes not empowered. So the reality is that most finance teams are digitally enabled, but not digitally effective. So what separates a leader from a follower really isn't more tools, but it's how we intentionally align the systems, people, and culture to drive positive outcomes. So when I'm talking about intelligent finance leaders, we are really focusing on designing first, we integrate deeply, and we empower our teams, turning finance into a strategic partner and not just a reporting function. When I say intelligent finance, we're not just talking about better tools. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how finance operates. So traditionally, finance, from what I've observed, has been very transactional, siloed, and oftentimes reactive. We have a tendency to focus on what we know, which is our reporting, and we tend to be backward looking more so than forward. But if we really want to take an intelligent point of view, we must become strategic, integrated, and proactive, helping businesses see what's coming in and how we act with confidence. And this doesn't just happen with our technology alone. It's a continuous system that involves our people, our processes that complement our technology, our data, and our culture. When the elements combined together are aligned, we're able to move from a reporting function to a strategic engine for growth. And the alignment becomes streamlined and long-term stewardship becomes the goal. And when you think about this, we have to really put together some frameworks. And what I'm about to share are frameworks that have worked nicely for me when I've been managing bankruptcy transformations, helping executives take over new departments, or even honestly bridging in a new AI system myself to enhance us. So, as we talk about modernizing finance to be novel and forward thinking, to be intelligent, it's really important for us to establish a clear structure for how digital first finance truly functions. So I call this novel diagram the finance stack, the digital finance stack. And at the core, or at the bottom, I shall say, the foundation, this is your single source of truth. It's the consolidation of financial, operational, and customer data into a unified ecosystem. Without clean data as a connected layer, nothing else in the stack can operate effectively. And most transformation failures actually start here because with not the right tools, but also with not the right data. And the two of them combined can actually cause a disconnected system. And then we move up to automation. This is where we remove the workflow friction. It includes workflow tools, AI assisted reconciliations, automated close tasks, all the things that we need to maintain, but we remove the repetitive manual work and we free up our team for a higher value analysis. When you get to the third layer, analytics, this is where once the data and the automation are in place, you can finally unlock real time insights. So think dashboards, forecasting models, performance analytics, and scenario planning. This is where the performance analytics actually really enhances and you become more forward thinking, allowing you to go into the decision layer, the strategic intelligence layer, as I should really be calling this, because you're now able to get into predictive models, strategic AI driven insights, and dynamic planning become together and they foster a smarter, faster decision. When this layer is fully activated, this is where you see the unlock in the true value and the creators, influencing growth risk and long term strategy. So, this isn't necessarily a technology diagram, it's a roadmap. And what I mean by that is when built intentionally, the data first, the automation second, insights and analytics, and the decisions really foster us to be positioned in a place to move us to be the operational partner versus the backward reporter. When I present this digital roadmap or this digital finance stack in my onboarding consulting sessions, I actually get asked the question, how do we actually get there? And this very simple 5 step program allows us to see that most organizations want to modernize, but they either don't know where to start or they try to do everything at once. And that can burn out the team. So that's why a structured stage roadmap is essential. We start with assessing. This is where we get really honest about the current state. What systems do you have? What are the bottlenecks? Where is the manual work creating risk? This step is less about the technology and more about gaining the visibility into how your organization truly is operating today. When we move up, we're going to align. Transformation only works when leadership is aligned on the vision. In this phase, we define what intelligent really means for your organization, not someone else's, and certainly not my own. We must prioritize outcomes, not tools. And this is where we ask the question, are we all aligned on our greater purpose and our North Star? Without the alignment, you will not be able to move on. And moving on means automation. Automation is where the friction really is. And we are aiming for a targeted automation. So, how can you move away from the friction? We're going to talk quick wins here, repeatable workflows, and tasks that immediately free up capacity. This step is what builds momentum and shows the team that change doesn't have to be disruptive. It can actually be liberating. We want to integrate. We want to connect our systems, unifying the data, and build that backbone of the digital first finance function. Integration is what transforms isolated processes into improvements and intelligent ecosystem, which allow us to optimize. Modernization isn't a one and done initiative. In this phase, there's continuous improvement, enhancing your analytics, expanding automation, and embedding AI and redefining the processes as your business evolves and gets smarter. We want to make sure that finance becomes that dynamic partner instead of a static function. Modernization really isn't about pushing to the newest tool. It's about sequencing change intentionally so every improvement amplifies the next. And the result here could be powerful for finance leaders. Finance moves from being a labor intensive function to a knowledge driven function. Teams shift from being processing transactions to providing insights. Errors drop, cycle times shrink, and the quality of decision making really improves. Workflow design is where modernization becomes more tangible. And ultimately, your people feel the benefit, allowing them to feel lighter and to really focus on the strategy and the fun part of the analytics. Which leads me to culture is really the accelerator for intelligent finance, especially as we optimize on these new digital systems. We need to have the culture that adapts to it. However, what we see is that automation sometimes fails because it's misunderstood. Many organizations assume it's primary a technology problem, that if we buy the right tools, if we invest in the right platforms, or if we automate everything, it will fall into place. The reality is quite different. Transformation is about the people first. And in fact, the research shows that 70% of finance transformation efforts fall short and deliver impact slower than expected, largely because of the human and strategic elements were underestimated. It really is no surprise that one of the main common reasons, or the most common reason, I should say, is we have a resistance to change as humans. And as teams may feel uncertain, unprepared, or even threatened by new technology. This comes down to without a clear communication about the why the change matters and how it benefits each individuals and the organization, it actually stalls your adoption. Then we go into lack of ownership, right? So change is hard for people. They want to know what's happening, but then they're like, well, who's like on the slack if it doesn't work out? If no one is accountable for driving change, small delays turn into larger systematic issues. So successful transformation assigns ownership, defines clear roles, and empowers leaders and champions at every level. And then misalignment between technology and strategy. This is where we must work together with our technology partners to understand what their problem is they're solving and make sure it aligns with the greater vision of the company. And only 1% of CEOs and CFOs have automated more than three-quarters of their finance processing, underscoring how transformation often stalls in execution rather than technology. So, when we think about this transformation, it's essential to remember that tools alone don't drive the value. Success comes from combining the right technology with people who are aligned, empowered, and motivated. They understand your why and working toward a clearly communicated business aligned purpose. This is the difference between when a transformation stalls and one that's actually based in measurable impact. And the cultural transformation work is what I have seen that's really drive forward the success rate here in transformation. We must align on our vision. This is the shared purpose. Do we all agree on why it matters, how their work contributes to the company's long-term goals for the teams? And these teams want to know how their value is created for the business and its people. By understanding the why, you're able to impact behavioral shifts. And behavioral shifts isn't just an announcement that is made about adopting a new technology or a new platform. It's changed by ways of working together. This means new ways. We must look at collaboration habits, how decisions are made, how teams experiment with tools, and how finance interacts with the business, becoming that strategic partner that allows incentives for people to try new things. People respond really well when reward is recognized, and they also want to know what aligning performance metrics, recognition programs, and incentives do with their desired behaviors that ensures adoption doesn't rely on compliance alone. So, said differently, they want to know it's okay to take risk and to adopt new things and have those fail fast moments, and they will often lead to be your change champions. So transformation excels the fastest when it's peer led. And when you have individuals who are really able to rally the troops and get out there and say, okay, I know this is tough. I know change is challenging, but by doing this, we're able to learn so much about our business, which greater performs our shared purpose of our why, what we're really here to do. And these change champions allow you to have measurable KPIs. So what gets measured gets managed, right? And we know that as our finance executives and professionals here, that defining cultural KPIs like adoption rates, engagement, process improvements allows leaders to track progress, celebrate successes, and course correct when needed. So when all five of these are combined together, we're able to intentionally build a culture that fosters growth for technology, which allows us to embed the innovation into our daily work. So, this is rapid experimentation. We want the teams to feel empowered to test those ideas quickly, right? Learn fast and iterate. Innovation doesn't have to be perfect. Small experiments can uncover huge opportunities, those fail fast moments, as I say, where you learn quickly on something that didn't work and you iterate. This is something that I have seen done really well with cross functional sprints. Have your finance team work with operations, sales, product team, IT, and ensure that the insights and solutions are solving real business problems. Align yourself on that shared purpose and that why. These sprints also break the silos between the finance department and others, which accelerates adoption idea, builds trust, and positions the finance as an active contributor to business outcomes. And when you redefine the role of finance to be that strategic partner, innovation shifts finance from being perceived as a cost center to being recognized as that strategic foresight. By embedding creativity, analysis, and problem solving into the daily work, finance teams influence decisions, drive growth, and shape the organization for this future. And we're not just reporting on the past year, we're guiding decisions for what we need to do to drive purpose. So embedding innovation into daily work really isn't about just the technology alone. It's creating habits and mindsets that encourage the experimentation, collaborate across those cross functional teams, and consistently focuses on the strategic impact. When this is done right, it changes not just how the process is perceived, it's also changes how it operates and the value that it delivers. So, what about bringing it all together? We talked a lot about where we were, how we want to be more forward thinking, really using data as that foundation. But what about culture and driving it, right? We've talked a lot about, okay, what we need to do to foster that change. But when you really step back and you look at everything that was discussed, modern finance becoming intelligent and transformation really comes down to one thing, and that is the balance. Technology alone doesn't create intelligence, right? Culture without capability doesn't scale. What truly works is the intersection of three pillars you see here, which really is systems, people, and culture. When you look at modern systems and data, this is the foundation. It is about the integrated platforms, automated workflows, and a single source of truth that provides the real time visibility. When data flows seamlessly and systems talk to each other, finance teams spend less time reconciling numbers and more time understanding why what these numbers really mean. The pillar creates speed, accuracy, and trust in the information, which allows you to really focus on fostering as well high performing people and teams. Even the best systems fail without teams who know how to use them. So high performing teams must be able to speak the lingo. They must be analytically strong, deeply connected to the business, and a strong partner of your tech team. They don't just report the results, they translate these insights into action. We're all about upskilling here. So, this is redesigned operating models, empowering people to move from execution to strategic partnership, which allows you to build an adaptive and innovative culture. This is really the accelerator for intelligent finance. It is what determines how quickly you are able to adopt new tools and how confidently teams challenge the status quo. An adaptive culture encourages experimentation. There's a psychological safety if something doesn't work out. It is okay. And we just aim for continuous improvement, not perfection here. It rewards learning and curiosity over compliance. And here's the key insight: these pillars don't operate independently, they reinforce one another. Modern systems enable better insights, empowered teams act on those insights, and strong culture ensures the organization keeps evolving as the business grows. So, when all three pillars are aligned, finance transformation goes from a support function to that strategic engine for growth, optimizing on all the amazing technological advancements out there. And this is what intelligent finance means. It's not just working smarter, but it's a smarter way of thinking, leading, and fostering that long term growth for your organization and for your team and yourself. When I present this digital stack and the roadmap and how we get there, often I hear from finance leaders, okay, where do I even start? This sounds great, Caitlin, but like I don't even know where to go. And the great thing is that meaningful transformation doesn't need to require a multi-year roadmap, long-range plan. Real progress can actually really begin in the next 90 days if it's set in an intentional and aligned way to the three pillars that we just walked through. So, if you're able to look at modern systems and data in the first 90 days, the goal here isn't to replace everything, it's to create the clarity. Leaders should focus on assessing data quality, identifying where manual work creates risk, align on the why, and select one or two workflows that are ripe for automation. Even small wins here will build momentum and credibility, which is what you want. This will allow you to focus then on leading high performing teams. So, over 90 days, invest in your people by establishing a digital fluency as a priority. Does everyone speak the same language when it comes to the various tools and resources that you do? This could also mean launching targeted training, redefining roles to include business partnerships, or embedding finance more closely with its operations. When teams understand why change is happening and how they fit in, adoption really accelerates, allowing you to build adaptive, innovative culture. And when I say adaptive or adaptive, what I'm really talking about here is cultural shifts change through behavior, not slogans. So when we're thinking about rewarding experimentation, curiosity, and creating that psychological safety, it means being thoughtful in how we are responding to change or new ideas. This might look like introducing peer led sessions, appointing transformation champions, or simply creating a space for teams to challenge existing processes without fear. What's powerful about the approach here is that these actions reinforce each other. So the systems free up capacity, empowered teams use that capacity to generate insights, and a supportive culture ensures those insights turn into better decisions and continuous improvement. So the key takeaway for us finance leaders really is we don't have to do everything at once. But if over 90 days you can take deliberate steps across systems, teams, and culture, you lay the foundation for an intelligent finance organization that can scale with confidence and agility. If you take nothing away from what we've talked about today, I want you to take away these 3 points. Transformation starts intentionally with framework. Everyone needs to be clear on how systems, processes, and data work together to generate insights. We must be aligned on our why. And people are the multiplier. The most advanced tools won't create value unless teams are digitally fluent and empowered. Position as true business leaders. When professionals are given the skills, the trust, and the visibility, it's amazing what they're able to accomplish. And with your digital finance transformation, culture determines your speed and your sustainability. So, an adaptive, innovative culture accelerates this adoption, unlocks creativity, and ensures transformations don't stall after implementation. Organizations that reward learning, experimentation, and collaboration are the ones that evolve even as the conditions change. When these three elements come together, finance becomes more than a reporting function. It's that, again, strategic engine for growth, resilience, and long term value creation, which is so important as we go into a digital savvy world. And the promise of intelligent finance really is it's within reach for every organization and every leader willing to invest thoughtfully in how it builds, leads, and evolves. And I'll leave you with a quote from Marjorie Lau. She heads up finance at Lego Group. And she says that our jobs as CFOs and finance leaders is really not to say no. It's to say yes. Here's how we can do it, or yes, under these conditions. And I think what's beautiful about this, and she says this here, is that it's a mindset shift for finance as a resource to finance as a business enabler. So I really appreciate the time, and I will kick it over to you in case there was any questions.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Caitlin, for such an incredible keynote. Let's go ahead and review a couple questions that came through. This first question asks, what's one finance process today, today that feels like it should be smarter or faster than it actually is?
I think, this one's a great question. And I think the very OG classic one is I always feel like closed processes should be faster than what they are. And being able to report on the structure in the future. So oftentimes I think we get caught up in wanting to understand what happened in the past, making sure that we don't do that same issue or recognize expenses or something in a way that causes profitability to differ, instead of being able to really get to the root cause of how can you use some of the technology out there to tighten up your processes on close, be able to get to the dashboards and the analysis quicker, to be able to have those thoughtful conversations of, okay, we tried a new promotion. That promotion didn't gain the same top line as it did in bottom line. Why is that? Did you have to invest in marketing? What worked? What didn't work well? And being able to streamline those conversations quickly to drive actionable insight, I find can always evolve and be quicker.
Great, thank you. And how can finance leaders empower teams to experiment and innovate without losing trust or governance?
It all comes down to how I believe you frame it, right? So teams just want to know that if they are going to test something new, that it's okay if the investment is lost, right? So I have found that when I've done cross-functional sprints, meaning we're going to do a hackathon or we're going to try to build a new part of our website or look at an app differently, I said, here's the set budget that you are able to have. Maybe if it's a smaller company, it's been 50K. If it's a larger company, it's been more. And we're able to say, we're okay investing this in our team because what this does is it allows them to learn how to work with each other, builds upon their communication. And the worst thing that we've done is we promoted the culture. The best thing that will come from it is understanding something new or innovative, and it allows you to think differently. I also think at times, if you're really green and you're coming into corporate and you're coming into a meeting with our, leaders like yourself, it's very intimidating. So being able to lean in and meet them where they're at and talk about some learnings you had on the job would also allow you to create those fail fast trust moments where they feel empowered to be like, I tried something new, it didn't work, but here's what I learned from it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Caitlin. That is all the time we have for questions, but thank you so much again for such an insightful keynote. I also want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be made available on demand following the event. Our next session will begin at 11:35 Eastern, so please remain on the stage and the next session will begin automatically. We look forward to seeing you there.